The Miami Dolphins are staring at an offseason that could define the future of this franchise. Coming off an underwhelming 8-9 finish, this team finds itself at a crossroads. No more talk about potential, no more waiting for things to magically click. This is about fixing what's broken, and right now, there's a lot to fix. Cap space? They don't have it. This front office has to make moves just to get under the salary cap before the March 12th deadline. That means tough decisions, possible veteran cuts, and zero room for mistakes. But it's not just about shedding contracts, it's about building a team that can actually compete. And with a decent stash of draft picks, including some expected compensatory selections, the front office has some ammo. The real question? Do they know how to use it? Start with the offensive line. This isn't a new issue, this isn't some minor inconvenience, this has been a glaring weakness for years. Even if Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, and Isaiah Wynn weren't all scheduled to hit free agency, this would still be a massive problem. Aaron Brewer showed flashes in his first year at center, but he's not exactly an enforcer in the trenches. The Dolphins had no push in short yardage situations, no real answer when the defense pinned its ears back. The offense struggled because of it. If this team is serious about competing, they can't go into another season with an interior line that gets bullied. The defense has its own set of headaches. Safety, for one, is an absolute mess. Javon Holland? Probably leaving. Jordan Poyer? Aging and no longer a difference maker. Elijah Campbell? Another pending free agent. That's your entire safety group about to be wiped out. And this is a position you can't afford to get wrong. Defensive stability starts in the back end. A weak safety unit leaves a defense vulnerable, exposed. There is no room for budget replacements here. And if you think that's bad, look at the defensive line. Zach Sealer is a force, no question about that. But after him? The picture gets murky. Calais Campbell, Deshaun Hand, and Benito Jones? All free agents. That's a lot of depth walking out the door, and it's not like this unit was dominant even with those guys in the rotation. Miami's run defense was inconsistent, and a lack of depth up front is going to make that even worse. There's no hiding from this problem. They need help, and they need it fast. Then there's the secondary. The Dolphins have bodies at cornerback, but do they have answers? Kendall Fuller could be a cap casualty after an injury-plagued season. Cam Smith? Still unproven. Ethan Bonner? A project. This team needs reliability. They need someone who can line up across from Jalen Ramsey and hold their own. Because right now, they're banking on potential. And banking on potential is a great way to get burned. Wide receivers shouldn't be a concern, but somehow, it is. On paper, having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle should mean this is a strength. But look closer. Hill was phenomenal, but even he had some stretches where his production dipped. Waddle had an up-and-down year. Beyond them? Nothing. Malik Washington showed promise, but the Dolphins got next to nothing from the rest of their receiver room. And let's be real, the Tyreek Hill contract situation isn't exactly drama-free. If things go sideways, if this turns into a problem, this position could go from an afterthought to a full-blown crisis overnight. The linebacker room has its own set of complications. The Dolphins nailed the Jordan Brooks signing, no doubt about that. But Tyrell Dotson? One of their best finds last season? Free agent. Anthony Walker Jr. and Duke Riley? Also free agents. If they don't bring Dotson back, this team is suddenly in desperate need of another starting caliber linebacker. Even if they do, depth is still an issue. This group showed flashes last season, but it wasn't consistent enough. Letting it deteriorate would be a massive mistake. And then there's the quarterback situation. No, not the starter, Tua Tagovailoa is the guy. But what about the backup? What about the insurance policy? Because when Tua went on IR last season, the Dolphins had nothing behind him. They've tried to get by with low-cost options, but that's not a sustainable plan. Whether it's bringing in a veteran with actual experience or drafting a developmental guy, they need to take this seriously. Tight end? It's not a crisis, but it's not exactly stable either. Jonnu Smith was solid, Julian Hill is developing as a blocker, but beyond that, it's shaky. If they decide to move on from Durham Smythe to create some cap space, they'll need to find some extra depth here. The pass rush has talent, but there are still question marks. Chop Robinson, Jaylon Phillips, and Bradley Chubb form a strong trio, on paper. But injuries are a factor. And then there's Chubb's contract, which is far from team-friendly. Could he be a cap casualty? Maybe. More likely, the team restructures his deal. Either way, depth matters. The Dolphins can't afford to assume everything will go smoothly here.